and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgive. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. It's Game On right here on UCY.tv. And it is, let's see, what is it? It's the 26th of June. We're headed for the long weekend. And that's a good thing, I guess. And anyways, I'm going to do this at the start of the show because I keep forgetting to do it at the end of the show. 3 o'clock. Hal, behind the woodshed, is on deck. So don't miss his show. He's always very informative and does a lot of good research. And listen to the show. Anyways, last night on the show I was talking about this 2020, Canada 2020. And I may do a bit more of that today. But I encourage people to just I don't care where you live, type in 2020, and you will probably come up with something for your state or your province. Because that's what you need to be reading. That's exactly what you need to be reading. I mean, look at some of your old politicians, be it the local, state, or federal politicians. Go track them down, see what they're up to now. I think you'll find that most of them are still very, very active, but they're out of the spotlight. That's where they do their most dangerous work. The ones that you see are the ones that implement the agendas of the ones you don't see. And so they're all working very hard in the background to manipulate. That's what they do. They deceive and they manipulate. And then when they feel they have it in a position that they can move it, then it shows up in the hands of those so-called politicians that you do see. And I'm just looking. I just pulled up the Canadian or the Communist Broadcast Corporation news here out of Canada. I'm just going through this stuff, right? Here's the thing. Live, Hillary Clinton, Dalai Lama, and Lady Gaga gather in Indianapolis. Why? What have these three people got to do with each other? Well, simple. They're all pushing agendas. And the entertainment industry and the religious industry are big players in the deception and the moving of the globalist agendas. Always have been. You know, it's all about power. You know, when they made public education mandatory, that's when we really got into trouble. Because they set the agenda, they set the curriculum. That you're forced to put your child into their hands so they can indoctrinate them and hypnotize them and screw with their minds in order to make them, well, good little slaves. And so I can't say enough. If you love your child, get him out of the school system. If you even if you just semi like your child, get it out of the school system. Because you, the parent, and I know a lot of parents will take this as me being rather abrasive. I don't really care. If you have a child in the school system, in the public school system, of which you're forced, understand that as by force that child has to be there. It's not the child's decision, it's not your decision, it's the state's decision. Put your child in this system or we will harm you. Now, what kind of a benevolent government situation is that supposed to be? By the people? For the people? I don't think so. And we've got to really wake up to that fact ASAP. It breaks my heart to see these little kids going to school being basically straight out lied to on a daily basis. And that's very difficult to take. Now here I mentioned something about this thing in Smith Falls, Ontario, a couple of times now about this new dissolving of the dead bodies and then flushing them into the sewer system. And now I see they're not going to let up on this, okay? They got something rolling here now. This would have been a one-off story, but it keeps popping up. So you know it's on their agenda sheet. It's all about saving the planet. If we dig a hole and bury Grandma in it, well, we've taken usable land and wasted it. And we don't want to do that anymore because, well, we're already overpopulated and we don't have enough land and yada, 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 yada. So I see today, now they're going to start the psychology by the look of it. I got a heading here. It says, are these funerals gross or green? And it says the Marketplace Consumer Cheat Sheet. Now, I don't know what the hell the Marketplace Consumer Cheat Sheet is, but here we are again with this guy with his tube, where you slide the body into the tube. Let's see here. What does it say something? Did you miss something this week? Don't panic. The Communist Broadcasting Corporation's Marketplace has rounded up the consumer and health news you need. You got to have this news because we said you got to have the news. So in Ontario, it says not quite burial at sea. An Ontario funeral business has a new plan for the dearly departed. The company dissolves bodies and washes them into the town's sewer system. It sounds a bit, well, gross, but it's part of a movement of green funerals for people who don't want to die and take the rest of the planet with them. That's pathetic. So, yeah, if you love the planet, you will flush your loved one into the sewer. That's basically what it's saying. And if you don't love the planet, then obviously you won't flush your loved one into the sewer, and that makes you, well, anti-green. It makes you a terrorist against the planet. Let's see, is your doctor too tired? I don't go to doctors, so I don't know about that. Um, this is just really bad news here. But that's all they did. They just give us a little clip on it. Um, let's see what it says. A movement for green. Inventive green solutions offer environmentally friendly burial alternatives. Companies and consumers seek eco-friendly ways to handle bodies of the deceased. Now, we're getting really close to Soylent Green, so we are. It says here that well, there's a couple of new ones in here. Anyways, it says it brings your body back to its natural state. Well, this goes back to evolution, I guess. My natural state was not sewage, I hope. So, I mean, they make these crazy claims. Brings your body back to its natural state, sewage. And I take issue with that. But it's fast, eh? It takes 15 to 20 years to disintegrate a body if you bury it. So it's a quicker process, and it's all environmentally friendly. Every little bit of it is environmentally friendly. The tree, oh, they're getting really getting into this now. The Tree of Life and Death. Italian designers Anna Citelli and Raul Breszel have kicked off a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for Capsula Monday, a project that would bury the ashes of corpses in large biodegradable egg-shaped pods underneath a tree. As tree after tree is planted, the cemetery will become a forest, reads the Kickstarter campaign. Capsula Monday has a low environmental impact because the pods are made of sustainable material coming from seasonal plants, and it adds green spaces to our planet. Capsula Monday's a tree for life. Bake it on Kickstarter design, green burial, crowdfunding, yada, 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 yada. The Denman Island Natural Burial Cemetery, cemetery in BC's Denman Island, opened in October with the goal of minimizing any environmental damage from the burial process. No non-biodegradable coffins, no embalming fluids, no concrete tombs, not even a tombstone. Work to create the Denman Island Natural Burial Cemetery began in 2009 when the island's existing cemetery dating back to 1904 ran out of space. Louise Bell of the Denman Island Memorial Society said families who bury a loved one there won't be able to visit the burial location once the body has been interned. That's to allow the forest a chance to grow back over and around the deceased undisturbed. You see where they're putting you here, folks. Okay? You are what they've said for a long, long time now. Okay? You are a plague upon the earth. Okay? As far as the earth is concerned, men and women and their offspring are damaging the earth beyond repair. And it's our turn to give back to the earth and repair the earth that we and our forefathers ruined. Now, when they mean ruined, they mean if you dig a hole in the ground, obviously. I mean, you dig a hole in the ground and you, give a decent send-off to your loved one, and all of a sudden you are anti-green. You are a problem. You don't care about the environment. You don't care about Mother Earth. Screw Mother Earth. Okay? Screw Mother Earth. Now, Mother Earth is Gaia. Mother Earth was a hoe. If you look up the history of it, Gaia or Gaia is a hoe. It's a mystical hoe from the gods of past. And she's going to go back to, she only wakes up once in a while for a little while, and something screws up, and then she goes back to sleep for a long time. That's what we got to do, is put Mother Earth back to sleep, and all these Mother Earth nutcases back to sleep. Right? It was Al Gore who said something, I don't have it in front of me, but said something to the effect that Christianity destroyed the last vestiges of goddess worship. This is what this is about, goddess worship. That's why you got so many police chiefs now becoming that are women. You have so many politicians who are women because it's the goddess nonsense, right? That was that whole Lilith thing with the singers and that. It's all about goddess worship, okay? Screw the goddesses and screw Mother Earth. Now, people will take that as offense, too. That's like me saying something bad about the Jews, I suppose. I don't like fraud, and I don't like deceptions, and I don't like seeing people be hurt. And this is all about hurting the people. Why about hurting the people? Because you have been designated a plague upon Mother Earth. So, you know, if you are one of these earth worshippers, one of these tree huggers, and people say, well, you want to cut down all the trees? No, of course I don't want to cut down all the trees, you twits. But all of this tree hugging nonsense, I mean, I worked in the bush, for crying out loud, but these tree huggers, they don't work in the bush. They hug trees while the guys are trying to work in the bush. A logger knows how to deal with the bush. A logger ain't stupid. A farmer ain't stupid. They know the land has to be dealt with in such a fashion that it's usable again and again and again. And that's sustainable. Running everybody off the lands is not sustainable. Look what happened up in Fort McMurray. You run everybody off the land, you don't look after the bush, you don't clear the bush, and all of a sudden you got a fire and you can't contain the damn fire. And then they turn around and blame that fire on man. Well, of course, because you didn't look after the bush. So they twist it this way, they twist it that way, they twist it this way. But all of this stuff's going to start, if it already hasn't started, showing up in the health magazines and all of this kind of stuff, and the retirement magazines and that. You know, you're getting older now. Consider a new burial way. You know, think about the earth. Yada, 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 yada. Just sickening stuff. So we have biodegradable urns now. The eco-friendly Bio urn, created by Spanish designer, is a biodegradable urn made from coconut shells. Compacted peat and cellulose inside the urn is a seed. Cremated human remains are placed into the urn alongside the seed and buried. As a good source of phosphorus, human remains help to fertilize the seed, which will eventually germinate and grow into a tree. Depending on where you would like to be planted after death, various choices of trees or plants are available to grow from your remains. Now, this is another problem I have. People seem to be under the attitude that you have to go out and plant trees all over the place. Okay, now if you log something off, okay, because if you're going to continue to log it off, you have to replace the trees, obviously. Which we used to do when I was a kid. We were used as tree slaves in grade school. I grew up in the Ottawa Valley, and they would go and log the bush. They had mills along the Ottawa River. And once they logged it off, we would go in and we would plant trees. Now, when I say they logged it, it was still a full bush. Okay, what they do is they go in and they take the trees that are ready to be harvested. That is to get the tree to its maturity before it rots out in the middle and becomes useless to anybody. They log those trees out, the rest of the trees remain. We go in and plant new seedlings, and they grow in the place of the old trees. But we really don't need to go in and plant the seedlings. It helps. It speeds the process up a little bit. But like too many people that go to school, particularly college and university now, who seemingly have no clue about earth cycles, the forest regenerates itself. Okay? Where do you get the seed for the seedling? From the tree. And the trees that remain in the bush do what? They drop their seeds. And where do the seeds go? Into the ground. And what do? They germinate and grow, and guess what? You get new trees. This idea that you can't touch the earth, I mean, these people are crackers. You know? Eco-friendly BIOS urns created by these Spanish designers, right? And the other one created by Italian designers. This is the way to go, people. This is the way to go. Now, reuse and recycle. This is getting interesting. Maybe some university graduates donate a lot of money to their school, but others literally give themselves to science and medical programs for educational or research purposes. Students preparing themselves for careers in medicine, dentistry, and related professions are fully aware of the special privilege granted to them and the obligation they have to conduct themselves in a professional manner during their training. Reads a statement on the Faculty of Medicine at the University of British Columbia website. People who donate their bodies to the medical school can be assured that all of the human remains are accorded the dignity and respect that our society customarily grants the dead. In Ontario, whole bodies can be donated to various schools of anatomy in the province, but can be rejected by universities if they've been embalmed, amputated, undergone an autopsy, or died of infectious diseases. Remains are respectfully cremated, interned at the school, or returned to the family upon request. Well, here we have the medicine people not doing a eco-friendly disposal of the remains because they cremate them. The first story about liquefying and shooting you off into the sewer hole is about the need not to cremate, which creates a lot of CO2. And if we keep cremating bodies, well, the planet will explode because of the CO2. And if we have cows, they'll drink all the water and we'll all be thirsty and we'll die of thirst. And they use up too much water, which apparently when anything drinks water, the water disappears off the earth forever, which of course it doesn't. And cows fart and they eat a lot of hay or a lot of grass, and therefore they're absolutely not sustainable. We have to kill all the cattle. You eating meat, well, you mother-hating earth piece of garbage, you. But when I'm looking at this picture of all these people that are getting ready to cut up some bodies at the school here, we're so close to Soylent Green now, it is ridiculous. Because you see, the human body has a lot of protein in it. What a waste. What an absolute waste to either cremate, bury, put them in an urn, put a seed in there, plant a tree. When there's so many hungry people on the planet, it only seems fair that we use the protein in the best way possible. Now, is the best use of the body to plant a tree, or is it better used to feed the hungry? So we're just around the corner now from good old Soylent Green, and if you haven't watched the movie, I encourage you to do so, because not only is it about eating your family members, it is about everything else that has to do with sustainable development. Overcrowded cities, no electricity for the plebs. You've seen the advertisements, you've seen it on blogs, you've seen it on Facebook, where you can buy a bicycle with a generator and you can power up a 12-volt battery and run a light or two for a little while, and then get back on the bicycle. So they sell it to you as exercise and a sustainable way to have electricity. All of this stuff is in the movie Soylent Green. You know, only the ultra rich get meat. Only the ultra rich have air conditioning. And what's not sustainable? Animal meat, your private home, air conditioning, golf courses, and so on and so forth. So it's all in Soylent Green. If you want to watch the movie, it's based on the murder of one of the two companies that control the food industry. And that's basically where we are at now. And it's a story that a local New York cop gets involved in and goes from there. And then he follows it through, and then he finds out what the hell's actually happened to the dead people. And that's where the Soylent Green comes from. So we're not far off of it. These people, when I got really hoodwinked, and I hate being hoodwinked. I got hoodwinked because a lot of people when I was a kid would read, they like science fiction. And I was saying, well, science fiction, I ain't got time for science fiction. I read the entire volume of encyclopedias when I was like, I don't know, 12 or so, somewhere in there. There's only 26 volumes. Went through the whole damn thing, and all I found was sound bites. Didn't find any real useful information. But I used to read, when I did read, I would read what I would consider nonfiction books, history books, and stuff like that. Books on engineering, books on architecture, things that weren't fiction. It wasn't until a lot later in life that I figured out that what I had been reading was fiction. The so-called nonfiction was revised, which is fiction, not real. And then when I started looking at fiction, I discovered that the fiction is actually much closer to the reality that they wish to impose upon us. So I have a much greater. I never had any use for fiction, but I have a great deal of respect now for fiction, because as I look at some of the fictions, it turns out the fiction is a suggestion, basically, of what they want the future to be. So you can't look back too much at history because most of the history has been revised. You can't find it in old books and old documents. You can find some real history, but for the most part, it's not that available to people, and so I guess what you need is a cross between so-called reality or nonfiction and fiction, which is non-reality. Unfortunately, the way the world is upside down. You're more likely, if you understand what you're reading, and I suppose you need to read some revised history or find the best history you can find and then put that up against the fictions, and somewhere in there you'll find a semblance of reality. But you need both of them, and you'll find that, as I keep saying, the world is upside down. Here's a good one. Scientists discover the first contagious cancer that can spread between species. Now, this obviously I would think is going to be a vaccination that is going to do this to you. Scientists discover first contagious cancer that can spread between species. Apparently, you don't want to eat shellfish anymore because scientists, the great deceivers, the new priesthood, apparently clams, mussels, and cockles among shellfish with hinged shells are prone to transmissible cancers. Contagious cancers are a scary idea to begin with, but scientists have made some, startling new discoveries about them, because they are likely more common in nature than originally thought, and some can even spread between species. A new study has found a contagious leukemia-like disease appears to be widespread among the shellfish with hinged shells called bivalves, such as clams, mussels, and cockles. And for the first time, the very first time, sit down, everybody, because this is the first time, researchers have found evidence of the cancer spreading from one species to another. Mussels living on the coast of British Columbia, along with cockles and golden carpet shell clams in Spain, are all prone to the contagious cancer, similar to one that has devastated soft shell clam farming operations in PEI. It may be more widespread in nature than we know. Never any hard data. The scientists never seem to be able to come up with any hard data. You know, it's all based on suggestion. It's all based on, possibilities. It's all bullcrap. Because cancers originate from the mutated cells of an individual and are genetically similar to that individual, genetic analysis of the cancer cells allows scientists to figure out their origin. Genetic analysis showed the cancer cells found in the golden carpet shell clams were widely different from the host, said Stephen Goff, a professor of microbiology at Columbia University, who also co-authored the new paper. It wasn't even the same species. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So now we have cancer becoming transferable like the common cold, I suppose, which science would be very happy with because, well, there's too many of you, okay? Anything that can happen. You know, Prince Philip states that when he dies, he wants to come back as a deadly virus, okay, to call the herd, you being the herd. So you can bet your bottom dollar that all of these foundations, like the Gates Foundations, and we know this guy had to be strung up, quartered, hung, dug up, strung, quartered, hung again, because this is one evil, evil son of a bitch, and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all the rest of you guys, who all run these tax-exempt foundations, which fund the universities, which fund the scientists, and so on and so forth, fund the guys, the IPCC, and all this kind of stuff, to come up with the desired scenarios, to have the desired problems, so that they need their desired fix for the problem. And you know damn well that they got these people in the university science labs and that looking at this very possibility. The cancer cells were from related. Let's see. The cancer cells were from a related species called the pullet carpet shell. This had to be a case of cross-species transmission. That has never been seen before. However, he said it's unlikely the cancer could spread between species that weren't closely related. Eating shellfish with the disease should be perfectly safe, although in general, sick or dying shellfish are not good to eat. In humans, cancers originate within their host body, and as far as we know, can't spread to other people except in rare cases, such as through organ transplants or pregnancy. In animals, only a few cancers are known to be transmissible between individuals of the same species, including sexually transmitted cancer that causes grotesque tumors in dogs, a facial cancer that has devastated Tasmanian devil populations, and a deadly leukemia-like cancer that has killed off huge numbers of soft-shell clams in some areas of Prince Edward Island. It's wiped out aquaculture operations, said Sherry, who studied clam die-offs linked to the disease several years ago. We could often find beds or areas where most of the clams were dead from it, particularly if the summer was hot and the diseases gets going. There's a high fatality rate. Well, this is just a normal cyclical thing again. Okay, waters get warm, waters get cold, the ocean temperature is always changing because the ocean cycles are always changing, just like the climate cycles, just like the water cycles. It's a cyclical planet, and these stupid scientists think it's like a petri dish that is always the same. That's the problem with science. Most of them are brain dead. Sherry was interested to see whether environmental stresses such as pesticides from nearby potato farming operations might be linked to the high cancer rates in some areas and whether viruses might also play a role. His colleague, Carlo Reinix, suggested collaborating with Goff, a shellfish virus expert. Funding for the PEI project was canceled under Stephen Harper's no Conservative government, but Environment Canada scientists continue to work with Goff as they were interested to know if they could find this kind of contagious cancer in other shellfish. So they're busy doing all that kind of stuff, and basically what we see here from what I'm reading is another case of why we have to be kept away from the oceans, why we have to basically back off eating shellfish. People won't want to eat shellfish, even though it says that, you can't get a shellfish cancer from a shellfish. That's not the point. It's a suggestive nonsense again, right? That people won't want to eat shellfish. Well, I don't much care for seafood, but anyways, if it did, it would caution me, the scientist says it's not transferable. Could it happen? Could it happen? So I'm not going to eat shellfish anymore. That's what this is all about. He is now interested in finding out what mutations arose in the transmissible cancers to allow them to spread to other animals. He added, those genes could have implications for our understanding of metastasis, cancer spread within humans. Okay, so yeah, at the end, they're going to tell you and freak you out, basically. And there's a nice picture of a smiling scientist. God, I hate scientists. I really, truly hate scientists. Now, this looks like another totally stupid story. Justin Trudeau's fight with the forces of Brexit and Donald Trump. Now, Justin Trudeau is not unlike David Suzuki's daughter. Okay, these people have been indoctrinated since they were very young children. Trudeau has been groomed since he was a very young child, as was Suzuki's daughter, who at the age of 12 in 92 at Rio gave that world-shaking speech about environment coming from a 12-year-old girl. Telling us that we are destroying the planet for her and the future of the people. And the question has to be, obviously, what the hell does a 12-year-old girl know about the workings of the earth? Only what was shoved into her little head. And it's the same thing with Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister here in Canada. Who is, a puppet extraordinaire. This guy is completely freaking clueless. He's a mental case. But he was brought up to be that way. And he is the product of some very evil people. And he just happens to be running the so-called country right now, which makes him extremely dangerous because his handlers, well, they got their hand up his butt there, and when they wiggle their hand, he speaks. Anyway, 6 months ago, Justin Trudeau went to Davos, Switzerland, to pitch the World Economic Forum on a vision, there's that word again, vision, of shared prosperity, proper leadership, and embracing diversity. Well, that's another word that leaves you. If you look up diversity, it also has a connotation of wicked and evil. Okay? So when you say we want to build a diverse society, what they're saying is we wish to build a wicked, evil society. That's what the word means. And a turning away from, basically, your real society. A day later, David Cameron appeared on stage and tried to explain why he was preparing to plunge Britain into a referendum over its membership in the European Union. Now some people ask me, well, why are you holding a referendum? He acknowledged after, what's the date on this damn thing? This is from January. Okay. Well, that might be interesting. I think it is absolutely essential to have full and proper democratic support for what Britain's place should be in Europe, and that's why we're holding the referendum. Oopsie. If Cameron is invited back to Davos next year, it will be as a former prime minister. He will no doubt be asked to reflect on how and why his deeply divided country decided to remove itself from the European experiment in common cause, possibly precipitating the breakup of the United Kingdom in the process. Hints of exclusion, alienation, and fears about immigration. There is possibly a lesson here in how one should be careful and cautious when conducting national debates about foundation matters, like, say, electoral reform. But they are as well hints that what happened in Britain on Thursday night was driven by economic exclusion, political alienation, and fears about immigration, precisely the sorts of things Trudeau has seemed eager to be seen as standing against. Simply put, everybody needs to benefit from growth in order to sustain growth, he said, in Switzerland. I believe in positive, ambitious leadership, Trudeau explained. We need to trust citizens. We need societies that recognize diversity as a source of strength, he added, not a source of weakness. His is the government of the middle class and real change and 25,000 refugees. What a stupid sentence that is. Back in January, Trudeau's appeal to diversity seemed like an implicit response to Donald Trump, and now it seems like a warning about Brexit. Indeed, it seems the U.S. election and the British referendum have something in common, and now in between the two of the English world, there is genteel Canada probably striking some kind of yoga pose, possibly about to be overrun by fleeing Brits and Yanks. Trudeau's opportunity. What friggin' opportunity? That speech in Davos was unofficially entitled The Canadian Opportunity, likely intended as a pitch to investors, as if Canada was a hot new condo development. But the opportunity here is also Trudeau's to demonstrate that his touted ideals can be put into action to the general satisfaction of voters. Trudeau was enthusiastic about those 25,000 Syrians, believing it was also about showing Canadians that they could accomplish big things, but getting those refugees to Canada was the easy part. Now they need enough support to ensure they succeed. The theme of this year's World Economic Forum was the fourth industrial revolution, a lofty slogan for the massive changes new technologies will bring. The Trudeau government is quite keen on an innovation agenda that would modernize and diversify the Canadian economy. But how to ensure that this change and the change of globalization doesn't have great numbers of people, leave great numbers of people behind, is not hard to see how the connections between computing information, robotics, and biotechnologies could deliver spectacular progress, Trudeau said in January. It is also not hard to imagine how it could produce mass unemployment and greater inequality. In between shared prosperity and diversity, Trudeau proposed merely that we can fight climate change without sacrificing growth and prosperity. So we can, according to Trudeau, still have growth and prosperity even as we fight climate change, which is a fraud. It was created as a fraud, a deception, continues as a fraud and a deception, but our rinky-dinky prime minister here somehow believes, like all other politicians seem to believe, that climate change is a real problem. Okay. There are those who there are those, of course, who would argue that government is almost anti-ethical to the idea of innovation, and therein lies the challenge of demonstrating that the state can be a worthy and active force for good, and perhaps, too, the challenge of combating cynicism within political and democratic reforms. The more results we achieve for people, the more we grow of the middle class and create real chances for those working hard to join the middle class. The more people will grant you a license for further ambition, Trudeau explained. Well, you don't need a license for anything. And these are your slave owners trying to schmooze you, I suppose, while in the background they're working to destroy the very nations that they say they care about, that they were apparently voted in to protect. They're working in the background, and their handlers are in the background, deciding how they're going to take you down. Okay, let's go on with this for a second here. Next to firebrands like Trump, Bernie Sanders, Nigel Farage, and Boris Johnson, Trudeau must seem like a moment of zen, read Airhead, particularly for liberals who imagine the state can be a useful and active actor, and that liberalized economic policy is still relevant. He need only now match the lovely pictures with something resembling effective government. Canada is not as driven by class and culture as are Britain and the United States, nor faced with the same level income equality. The immigration challenges are different. The American political system is a mess. But Trudeau's challenge was perhaps always going to include establishing a new liberal idea of government to counter the conservative proposal of his predecessor and the populist social democracy of the further left. And he has already been claimed by some progressives as an heir. Holy crap. By some progressives as an heir to the third way of Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. Blair's old party now being a mess, and Clinton still likely to be limited in what it can accomplish. Now Trudeau and his sunny ways look the opposite of Brexit and Trump, which might only increase the pressure on him to succeed. This is in our, basically, newspaper, which is also our Canadian broadcaster, like the BBC. And it makes one rather ill to know that people are actually reading this stuff on a daily basis and watching it on their 6 o'clock news or whatever. This is very dangerous what the media does to people. Because sometimes you go and you talk to somebody and you'll discuss something, politics, religion, schools, whatever, and the people seem like, I'm sure I could go down the street with a camera right now and ask people about the flushing of your loved ones into the sewer. And that, and you know, it all depends how you ask the question, you know. You know, with the global warming we have and the pressures we have on Mother Earth, don't you think it's a good idea to use these green burial processes now, i.e. like liquefying and getting rid of the remains in a green fashion? And I'll guarantee you, I will get a whole lot of people saying, well, under the circumstances with global warming and the stresses on Mother Earth and that, I suppose this is what we have to do now. No thought process whatsoever as to what the hell's actually going on. And that's because they allow themselves to be indoctrinated or deceived by these ridiculous stories that pop out of nowhere. You know, I went to get my coffee this morning, which I always do before the show on Sunday, and I walked into the corner store, and what do I hear blaring away but the Bee Gees doing their, whatever it's called, their Saturday Night Live song. And I almost had a heart attack and died right on the floor right there. There was almost no show today. It just brought back freakish memories. Because it's all about, and this is what people got to understand about entertainment and media. Entertainment is media. Entertainment and the media gang up on you to move you. It's all about moving you where they want to move you to at any given time. And they plan this stuff out extremely well. You know, they moved from the idea of the 50s, from Leave It to Beaver and these other shows, which always had a very set family situation where the husband was the boss of the family and the kids were dutiful to the parents. They would get a little tricky sometimes, but they would always come back to the idea that they owed respect to their parents and this and that. And this was a society, and that was a built society as well. And then along comes the 60s and the Vietnam War and that. And this is when they're going to start shaking things up. This is when they started to bring the drugs in. And I'm not talking about the kids didn't bring the drugs in. The same people that showed you Leave It to Beaver and these other shows are the same people that decided to bust it up. It's like that song, it wasn't War Pigs. It was, it was a Bob Dylan song, Masters of War, I believe was the name of it. And you should listen to that song sometime if you haven't. And if you haven't in a long time, you should give it a listen to. But in there's a line that, you know, you build to destroy. And that's exactly true. You know, that's exactly what they do. They build to destroy. And each time they destroy, they rise it up again. And you are more enslaved than you were before they destroyed it the first time. So all of the people are busy building these societies that these people dream up for you and is indoctrinated into you through the school systems, through the media, through the entertainment, through sports, through every avenue that they control to move you to their next stage. So it's played out that, you know, World War II, we had the families, we were building the new world at that point, where people all had jobs and things were good, and then And then this is right after the war, and new subdivisions are going up. People have more money in their pocket. Oh boy, we won the war. Everything's good. The factories are running. We're building new houses. We've got car plants running. Hot damn, we're the best country in the world. Yada yada yada. And they built that society. But you built the society. They dreamed it up. You built it for them. You know, you built that society that was designed by them, and you built it for them, not for you. You built it for them to get greater advantage over you. New rules and regulations, new ways to look at things, always promoting, you know, new information and this and that and the other thing. And, oh, look at this great world we built. And then along come the 60s, and all of a sudden it's time to tear that society that you built for them down. Chaos again. Out of order or out of chaos comes order. And you can go back, way back. It's always the same game. Create chaos, get the order we want. So, you know, when people say, you know, we got to fight the New World Order, well, I don't know how many of these things we've already been through. Okay? The shift from rural farming to, you know, World War I was a new world order being built. The recessions and that leading up to depressions leading up to World War II were all concocted in order to build a new world order again. So crash everything was built, force everybody into another war, destroy half the freaking planet. These are now the same people that tell you to be environmentally friendly, by the way. Same group. And so it's over and over and over again. Build to destroy. Build to destroy. Build a society, destroy the society, build a new society, destroy that society. Anyways, you know, I was born in the mid-50s, and, you know, so the 60s, 70 era is really my youth. And you know, we saw the same thing there. You know, we went from very stringent rules to a very loose society, if you will. It was a tear down of the family unit for all intents and purposes. Your parents now were not to be respected. They were now classed as a pain in the ass. Okay, why would you listen to your parents? What the hell they know? Well, this is coming out of an era that was you were told to respect your parents. Now all of a sudden you don't respect your parents. There was very strict societal rules, so to speak. Those were all thrown out the window. And all of a sudden drugs flowed in from everywhere. Where'd they come from? Well, the guys that build to destroy. And then what did they do? They brought the drugs and they threw millions of young people into jail for being in possession of the drugs they brought here. Sweet, isn't it? And from there, they built a prison system worth a lot of money, destroyed a lot of lives. So when I was young, it was kind of, there's always a right-left paradigm kind of thing. There's always a two sides, okay? Because you have to have friction. Because if we all just got along, it wouldn't work out for the boys that like to build to destroy. How do you destroy if everybody's getting along? You know, when I was a kid, you had rednecks and hippies, basically. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what year it was, but when I walked in to get my coffee this morning, it was like a bad flashback. Now I was a cross between, if that's possible. Yeah, it is possible. I was a cross between a redneck and a hippie. I had long hair. We smoked a lot of weed. did a lot of chemicals. On the other hand, you could drink a bottle of whiskey with the best of them, and if you pissed me off, I'll punch you in the face. So I was, I wasn't a passive hippie by any stretch of the imagination, but I understood both sides of this thing, right? You could see I had friends on both sides, and the friends on the one side didn't want to do it with the people on the other side, and vice versa. And I thought, well, this is the separation of these peoples, right? And it's done on purpose. But then all of a sudden, and that's what that horrible flashback was today when I went to get my coffee, the Bee Gees singing Saturday Night Live song, whatever the hell that thing was. And it all came rushing back, and it scared the hell out of me then. It still freaks me out to this day. You know, things were rolling along pretty good there. We had the Vietnam War, and that was, again, part of the build to destroy situation. They love sending young men and women off to have them slaughtered. They just love this. These psychopaths, these amoral sociopaths, these people that build your society. Well, you build it, they design it, then you build it, and then they destroy it. And it all goes back into chaos. Well, they move you somewhere else. But it's like, I remember I went to the bar one night on a weekend, and, it was rock and roll or heavy metal, whatever the hell was playing, and then this was the norm. And we had beach pavilions up and down this lake shore for hundreds of miles. And it was a good time in the summertime, man, I'll tell you. And all of a sudden, go in the bar, and here's this noise going on, what the hell is that? What is that? People in freaking spandex or I forget what they made them clothes out of, oil-based clothes anyways, back in the 70s. Prancing around on the stage singing shit we never heard of before. I mean, so what is that? Well, they call that disco. They do they? And that scared the hell out of me. It really, truly did. I said, what is this? What is this garbage? Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was another move, okay? It was another move. That move was the move to start moving the LGBTQI agenda forward. That's what disco was all about, okay? That's exactly what it was about. We went from the very strict 50s family unit, then we went to the 60s, which was free love, lots of dope and all this kind of stuff, lots and lots of chaos in the 60s. Detroit was on fire. Soldiers were coming back and getting up on towers and just blasting away. We had the Black Panther. We had all this chaos. Kennedy goes down. The other Kennedy goes down. Just a complete chaos going on. So now we got that sorted out. We got the family pretty much destroyed. We have very difficult politics. The religious system is starting to crumble. And now all of a sudden we've got that's the way, I like it crap going on. And all of a sudden the men in the movies turn into wusses. It was like overnight. You went from John Wayne to, well, if I should get that new Cardigan, my wife really thinks it looks nice on me. It's a lovely pink, Crap was going on. The men all got nutted in the movies. So now we have this movement moving forward, which is the beginning of the depopulation movement. We got the LGBTQ thing coming through the disco crap, then through the movies and that. We got the same crap going on. Then the men are all effeminated. And it's all about depopulation. Then my wife's favorite music of all time, rap, shows up out of frickin' nowhere. And what's that about? That's more chaos. That's more separation of the people. And that is the beginning of the real hate of the whites. Everybody hates the whites. You know, you're being flooded in with Muslims who hate white Christians. The coming in from the South who dislike the Americans for taking part of their land, and so on and so forth. You've got the inner city devastation of the black people who have been so marginalized it's crazy. They have been still wallowing in the drug problem. They're getting angry, as they should be, but they're not getting angry at the right people. This is all about turning all of the people against each other. Okay? We want a massive brawl in the streets, so to speak, is what they want now. And you can't give them what they want. Okay? But what the people got to understand, the blacks got to understand, the whites got to understand, the Hispanics have got to understand. The native people have to understand that if we don't come together as brothers to fight the real enemy, then we're going to end up fighting each other. And the enemy, without even really getting involved in it, will be the victors. And I would really hate to see that happen. I would really, really hate to see that happen. You know, they're just boiling the frogs, folks. You know, they're boiling, the pot's boiling. We're all in the pot. All of us are in the pot. You know, too many white people think that they're somehow above this fray that's going on underneath of them. You're not. You're not. And if we don't come together as people, you know, there's an old song that we used to sing in church before I realized how crooked the church was. When I was a little kid, they used to sing a little song, you know, Jesus loves all the people, all the children of the world, black and yellow, red and white, whatever. I don't remember the words of it. And it's true. But we have to come together. There's a very big, bad evil out there that hates the black people, that hate the white people, that hate the Muslim people, that hate the Hispanics, that hate the native people, the black people, the Chinese people, the Japanese people. They hate all of the people. Why do you think they started the wars? They hate you. They've always hated you. And they've worked so hard to get us to destroy each other. And they've done a damn good job of it. And now they're getting us all penned in amongst each other. That's why we have separate states. That's why we have different nations. Okay? So that the people who want to live a certain way live a certain way. That's your business. It ain't our business. You know, they're trying to make a society. They're not trying to make a global society. What they're trying to do is destroy all of the societies on the planet and create a new society, which is no society at all. Okay? You will Pray to Mother Earth. You will live in a stack and pack. You will not have access to the natural environment. And you will be turned into soil again or just continually flushed down the sewer holes. Now, this is showing absolute disrespect for you and I and everyone else on the planet. These are the most disgusting excuse for people that was ever put on the planet. And we allow them to continue to deceive us, to destroy us, to manipulate us. Why we do this, I have no idea. It makes no bloody sense to anybody. Well, you know, if I do this, I won't have my job. Well, of course you'll have a job. Okay? We'll all have a job, right? It will be called life. That's your job, to live your life. Not hurt anybody, to live your life. Now, this idea of this 40-hour work week, 60-hour work week, 8-hour work week, whatever it may be, chasing the dollar, which is basically what flows through their veins. The juice of the dollar is what keeps them people alive. And where do they get these dollars from? They suck it from you in order to stay in power. So they are, you might as well call them bloodsuckers, vampires. You and your families work your tails off to sustain them, who don't ever want you to be able to rise up. They want to keep you weak enough, just like the vampires always. They don't really kill their victim because then they'll lose their source. They don't really want to kill the host. They just want to continually feed from it. And that's what they've been doing for centuries and centuries and centuries. They're feeding off you like ticks on a dog's back. And we need to shake them off. We need to shake them off of us. And then we need to go back to living our lives the way they're supposed to be lived. Not forever chasing something that's not attainable for 99.9% of the people. The only people that get rich are the people that sell their souls completely and totally. And I know how that operates. I've had the offers. I didn't have to be sitting here broke doing these radio shows. I could have been very well off. But to do so, I had to sell my soul. And I'm not prepared to do that. And that's why I'm sitting here today, yammering away on these internet radio shows. Because I care about the frickin' people. And you don't have to be an Einstein. Well, you don't want to be an Einstein. That was a fraud, too. You don't have to be highly intelligent to see what's going on. You don't have to be highly intelligent to understand what it is they have planned for us. This idea that you continually turn your head and look away when it's more than obvious what's knocking on your door, hoping that they don't come through your particular door this particular day. But you know in your back of your head, okay, this is all set to come crashing down upon us. They are going to build some wicked famines. They are going to create some wicked financial problems. Because they've done it over and over and over again. At what point do we say enough is enough? There has to be a point. You know, as far as the people with they're worried about their jobs, you know, you're always going to be worried about your job. That's the whole point of your job, is to keep you worried about your job, okay? Because if you're worried about your job, you're going to be extremely submissive. You are not going to stand up. You are not going to say what's on your mind. And you just hope you're not the next one to go down the road. You're not the next one to be living in a car somewhere. So you hope. And you keep looking at the ground, hoping that nobody notices you and that you're doing okay and you don't get in trouble and you hang on to your job. What kind of dumbass life is that? Christ, even the slaves on the plantations had more balls than the people today. But anyways, I get on these rants, not because I like ranting at all. I get on these rants because I genuinely care about what's going on here. And, when I looked at those population numbers, I mean, that really irritated the hell out of me. And I found those years ago. I think it was on a site, I can't remember, it was Earth, it wasn't Earth First, it was Earth One or One Earth or some dumbass thing anyways. And David Attenborough was a patron of this thing. He's basically the David Suzuki of Britain, or the Al Gore of the United States. And, they were looking at population pressures and what had to be done and what were sustainable populations. This thing about Britain exiting the EU, that's a small problem. When you look at the population proposals, that's a bigger problem. Read this stuff in the paper. The kids aren't being taught this stuff in school because nobody would put up with it. So they have to do it in the back rooms and sneak around and try to get us into a position where they can start propagandizing certain things that would never be acceptable before, like flushing your loved one into the sewer. If somebody come up with that 10 years ago, well, it wouldn't have went into the newspapers, would it? It wouldn't have happened. It wasn't time yet. They haven't softened up the mind yet. And then it's like that Yuri Brezhnev said, that KBG guy, that was involved in destroying nation states. He went through the whole process of taking something that was not acceptable and then eventually normalizing it into an acceptable idea. And this goes on in our school systems, goes on in your churches. I don't know how many conversations I've had with church-going people that consider themselves, I'm a really good Christian, who are pushing the exact opposite agenda through the churches, and they don't even realize it. That's because they've been slowly indoctrinated, normalized into believing things which are absolutely backwards to what they say they are. Yet they will sit there and argue that this is what a good Christian would do. A good Christian would bring lots of Muslims into their nation, the very people that wish them dead. This is how messed up it is in the church now. The whole system's totally messed up now. It's not a little bit messed up here and a little bit messed up there. It's messed up everywhere. And people continually turn away and don't see. First they came for such and such, then they came for so and so, then I wasn't one of them, then they came for them, I wasn't one of them, then they finally came for me, and there was no one there to stand up for me because everyone was already gone. So you can't just keep turning a blind eye. Oh, well, it's too bad what happened to them. Well, at least it didn't happen to me yet. Your day's coming. And I really don't want to see a bloodbath in the streets. They want to see a bloodbath. They love blood. They love destruction. They love misery. That's what keeps these pricks going. They get off on it. They get off on the fact they have enough power to turn people against each other who never turn against each other until they were coerced into doing it. They like to play God. Plain and simple. They are complete nutcases. And we allowed these nutcases to hang on to their powers all these years. And that's got to stop. It has to stop. Somehow it has to stop. Now, I think it's time we bring back the old, what are they called? Pillory stocks? I think that's what they called them, pillory stocks. Stocks, anyways. We need to bring back the stocks. And we need to put one in each town square, in each town. And we need to, I don't know, we can't at this point drag the real mayor or councillor in there and throw them in the stocks. I don't think that would fly too good right now. But you can always do an effigy. Okay. You know, put a set of stocks in your town, put it on your front lawn. I don't give a damn where you put it. And pick your favorite actor, because they're all actors, remember. They're all actors. They're all playing a fictional role. So do up an effigy. If you don't like Obama, put him in the stocks. If you don't like Clinton, put him in the stocks. If you don't like Trudeau, put him in the stocks. You don't like your local mayor, and you shouldn't like your local mayor. You should absolutely despise your local mayor and the council and the CAOs, city managers, because all of them are implementing the globalist corporate agendas, which are designed to take control of everything in your nation. So just do an effigy, build the stocks. I mean, it's not difficult. Get some wood, drill some holes in it, right? Okay, and you take 2 planks, put them together. Draw a circle, a bigger circle for where the head goes, or the neck, and 2 for the wrists, and cut it, and then just take those 2 planks and they separate, and then put one in the bottom, put one in and then put your effigy in there and drop one on top, and put the lock on it, boom, done. Very, very simple to do. And when your mayor's driving down the road and he sees an effigy in the stocks with his name on it, and the effigy looks like him or dresses or wears a hat like him or her, they're going, damn. And I mean, just on one of those planks right under the effigy's head and hands that are sticking out of the stocks, just say, stop Agenda 21, stop 2030, right? They will get the idea that they're being outed. You see, what we have failed to do to date is we haven't outed them properly. We have put no pressure to these people. We've allowed these so-called elected officials to carry on since 1992, and it started before that. It wasn't official till 1992, but they'd already been starting to implement this nonsense prior to Rio, way prior to Rio. I mean, the first Earth Day was 1970, for crying out loud. With no pressure on them. We've been letting them just roll along with their little vision statements, and they get their directives from the province or the state or the feds that if they want money, it's the same thing as what the tax-exempt foundations do that set up the United Nations, that set up the EU, that brought us Agenda 21. Okay, it's all about carrot and stick, and it's all about money. It's no different than that they want a particular statement done or particular data. They fund a scientist or a group of researchers to come up with the results that they want. The same thing with your city council or your state house. They are told basically that you want this money, then you're going to do this, period. Then they do it. They do it because your local city is a corporation, okay? And a corporation lives by money. Now, the higher-ups, because the city council, municipalities, whatever you want to call it, are creations of the state or the province, okay? They're creations of it. They're like a satellite office of the corporation, and if the satellite office doesn't do what the main office wants them to do, guess what? They have the power to walk into that office and vacate everybody the hell out of it and reinstall new people. Well, how can they do that? We voted for these people. Well, the vote's a fraud. Okay, so your city council does exactly what it's told to do by its bosses because it's just a satellite corporate office. Period. They do not represent you. They never did represent you. They can't represent you because you can't be beholden to two masters. So they're deceivers. And deception is fraud, and fraud is against the law. So we've been letting these clowns get away with this at the local level forever. It's got to stop. It has to stop. Now they have police at the town halls. They know people are starting to wake up. You got police guarding the criminals at the town hall. And I've seen this over and over and over again. I've had people call me many times from different parts of Canada, United States, that you can't even get in the town hall now unless you pass a metal detector or you go through an ID check or this or that. Wait a minute here. Aren't they our servants? No. No, the truth is coming home to roost. They are not your servants. You are their servants. Ass backwards again. I love the idea of the stocks. I think it's just brilliant. Put it on a wagon. Put it in the back of a pickup truck and pull the pickup truck up in front of the local city hall with an effigy of the mayor or the city manager. It's actually the city managers, the CAOs, are even more dangerous than your mayor because it's the CAOs that are vested in setting the agendas of the councils, and those city managers and or CAOs are trained on how to implement the UN globalist corporate agenda at the local level. And they're not voted in. So you can change out your council, but the city manager, the CAO, remains waiting for the new council to come in so that they can set the agenda for the new council. So even though you vote out your mayor and your councilors because, well, they're crazy. Well, maybe. But it ain't going to make any difference because they're going into the handler again, which is the city manager or the CAO. So it's all bureaucratic, non-elected crap that's going on. And again, your election is phony anyways because you cannot vote. You only vote as a proxy for the legal fiction name. So you don't vote. You don't have a vote. You work as an agent only, and it is because it's a legal election. You not being a legal man, a man can't be legal. A man or a woman cannot be in the realm of legal. They can only be in the realm of law. So where do we get this legal person? Well, they created it. It's a fictional character because the legal system is a fiction itself. And only fictional entities can play in the fiction. But the fictional characters can't do anything by themselves. Okay? If you go to an animator who draws a fictional character on multiple pages, and then he flips the pages, and then the drawings, which are static, look animated. And those drawings are the person. They just lay there on the desk, dead. That's what they are. They're dead. To bring it to life, it must be animated. The only way it can be animated is with an agent. And the agent picks up the dead entity and flips it rapidly, and the pictures look like they're moving. Okay, that person that you're carrying around is that drawing on that piece of paper that is not animated, cannot be animated, is dead until such time as someone animates it. That's your job. You're the animator. But you didn't vote. You act as the agent of the dead entity and you animated it with your pencil, but you didn't vote. Because the legal system does not recognize the living, breathing man or woman. It cannot. One is real, one is fiction. You can't mix the two to be one. And we have to stop animating this fictional, dead cartoon character. We got to get away from that. But we have to get out and we got to talk to our people. And I mean our people. I mean anybody that's walking on the face of this earth is our people. And we have somehow got to make them understand how this system was set up and what its purpose is. And then we all simply have to make that decision to stand up and say, no. No, no, no. Now, the other thing about the animation of the fictional character is that the animators, okay, I'm going back to old animation, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a better picture than digital animation. This is when people actually had to put some effort into it and draw each of these characters page by page by page by page. But guess what? They all got paid. What do? I'm an animator. Oh, okay. So you draw pictures on pieces of paper, on flat pieces of paper, and then then they animate, right? Yep. And you get paid for that. Yep. That's wonderful. Well, you're an animator because your fictional character can't do anything without you animating it. And you ain't getting paid. Now that should tick everybody off. You animate the fictional character, but you don't get paid. In fact, you animate the fictional character and then you get robbed for animating the fictional character. Because when you animate the fictional character, you're in the movie, basically. And they give fines to the fictional character. They tell the fictional character it owes taxes. They make rules and regulations for the fictional character to follow. And we as the animator agree to those terms. An intelligent animator says, wait a minute, I'm doing the animation, and therefore that is my labor that animates it, therefore I get a paycheck. How much are you going to pay me? Now that would make sense, but we're so damn stupid that we animate the fictional character not for our benefit, but for someone else's benefit, and we don't get paid. We accept the contract to get ourselves. We consent to being robbed for being an animator. That ain't done none too bright. Not too bright at all. So we're getting closer. I see it. It's getting better all the time, and we're going to. I've been writing to this. I sometimes smile when I write it. People sometimes will write stuff and they sound like they're beat up, depressed, and we can't win. I hate that attitude. If you don't think you can win, then get the hell out of the game. Why would you go into a fight that you don't think you can win? That's stupid. That's really stupid. If you're getting in a fight, you better get in a fight with the attitude you're going to win, or you're going to lose. And there's no point getting beat up if you already know you're going to get beat up. Unless you enjoy it, I suppose. But I don't know how many times I've written to people in a simple line, we're going to win because we're supposed to win. It's that freaking simple. But we don't need to get sucked into a bloodbath. We don't need to get sucked in to what they want us to do, and that's turn on each other. They depend on us. They've always depended on us turning against each other. They've always depended on being able to get one group to hate another group. And we got to get by that. We have got to come together. Not in the sense of a common people. We're not common people. Okay? We're not common people. We're all nations, if you want to call it that. This idea that we're supposed to be separate. Okay? We're supposed to be separate. Do I want to live like a Native American? Probably not. I love the bush. I love being in a canoe. But do I want to live a traditional Native life? Probably not. Do most Native people want to live what the white man's living? I can pretty much guarantee no. I mean, if there's one group of people that knows that what white people are doing is stupid, it would have to be the Native Americans. They look at us and go, what a bunch of dicks. Right? But it's not the people. Okay? It's not the people that are doing this to the people. It's the people allowing this to be done to the people. But we need to get rid of these clowns at every level of the situation here. And, you know, I get into these arguments with people about where do you go, right? Who do you chase down? Well, it's called global to local. That's the program. Okay, the global fires out the templates to the local, tells the local to have a vision. The local says, oh, we had a vision. You read this in the local papers. Our new vision statement states, well, you didn't have a vision. You're not smart enough to have a vision. You received a template. Why don't you be honest? We've received a template from the globalist sector who wishes to own and control all peoples and resources on the planet and then destroy the peoples of the planet to reduce the population to what they feel would be okay. You don't hear that in the newspaper, local newspapers. No, the local thing is having a multicultural dinner this week. The local government is, going to sponsor in Muslims. The local council is building a dog run. The local council has agreed to fund a turtle crossing across the road. Now, these are not obviously vision statements by this council because you can go to any town council and find the exact same thing going on at the exact same time. Therefore, it is not a vision that the local council has. It is the globalist vision in order to take down the local areas or to take control of them. So, on the one hand, they say, if you're cutting the branches off the tree, that, you're going to, new branches will spring forth and you're going to be a long time killing the tree. What you got to do is get to the root of the tree. And the other is, if you're trying to cut the head off a snake, then why are you starting at the tail? Good question. Well, one, it's as far as the snake part goes, or the head goes, you are going to have a very difficult time getting to the head. Now, it would be the quick solution would be to get to the head. The quick solution is that we just simply, as people, walk into our legislative buildings and just arrest everybody on site. Everybody. and that our presidents and prime ministers are held and charged with murder, conspiracy to commit murder, because if they've ever declared a war or bombing on someone, they are absolutely guilty of murder. That would be the quick solution. I've said it, I can't remember how many years ago I first said it. It's very simple. You get 10,000 people together. That would be probably more than enough to walk in at the identical moment, walk in, and I always call it a reverse coup. It is not a coup, it's a reverse coup, taking back what was stolen from us. Okay, so it's not even against the law. We're just taking back what was ours. So we have the law on our side as far as that is concerned. The legal system a different matter, but we have to deal in law because, men and women can't be legal entities, okay, because we're not fictional. Therefore, we must deal in law. And you have every right to go and take back what was stolen from you. That is your right. It is not a legal right. It is your God-given right, which supersedes any legal fictional doctrine that was ever created. Now, 10,000 people could easily walk into the White House, arrest everybody. It wouldn't take 10,000 people. You send 5,000 people in there, 6,000, 7,000 people, whatever the number is you got. And at the very same time, you have to have technicians in that and talking heads, people capable of speaking intelligently, to sit down at the desks of all the major newscasters. And you need some editors for the major newspapers, just like the Rothschilds come in here and they took over the main newspapers. That was one of their first ploys, was get control of the media. So in a coup, not a coup, a reverse coup, you need to have control of the media at the same time you take back possession of the House. And you simply make a simple statement in the media, in the print, the radio, and the television medias, that America is now back in the hands of the people, as the founders originally put this thing together, by and for the people. And you wrestled it away by and for the corporation. And you've regained what was yours. Now, you're not going to have a war break out over that. Absolutely not. Because the average man and woman are so busy watching TV or trying to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table that they don't have time to engage. That's why it is up to the people, the few people, the minority of the people who really get this, who still have a spine and a mind that operates, to do what is right. Because if you're waiting for the remainder of them to do it, it ain't going to happen. And you're going down with them. So don't wait for the weakest to rise up. I mean, we have an obligation. We have a duty to do our damnedest to inform our friends and neighbors and family. We do have to engage. But there has to become a time where we say, okay, what do we got? Let's go get it done. Let's just simply go get it done. And it will be an extremely peaceful reverse coup. If you look at most coups that take place, once it has been completed, the people do not rise up against the new leaders because they're not engaged in any of that stuff. They're weak people. They are the sheep. And they will just go with whatever, they'll just go with whatever's going on. So once the announcements are made that the country is back in the hands of the people, there will be no uprising. There will be no war. it will be just another day. Only this time, we have control of our nations, we have control of our food, we have control of our resources. We are now in a position where we can start manufacturing the goods needed for our people, which means that we have full unemployment. And those who have the capacity to do great things deserve something for their efforts, right? But not the way this capitalist system works, where it's bleed everybody for every dime you can get. There has to be benevolence involved in this, because whatever you do is basically for and by the people. Even though you invented it, why did you invent it for? If you invented it just simply to fill your pockets and enslave your own people, then sorry, we'll just take it from you. But if you are creating or inventing for the benefit of the people, then sure, you deserve something for your efforts, because your efforts has done something good for the people. But that ain't communism. That's basically a neighbor helping out a neighbor. And if your neighbor helps you out, I'm sure that you will offer something to your neighbor for the help. And this is what I'm talking about. Someone who does something great or invents something that helps, be it we build a better product, or we learn to grow food without being poisoned to death in the process, deserves something else, because whoever brought that forward is a neighbor of everyone else, and deserves something. That would have to be determined by the people. But the people have to run the show. And the people have to be given their individuality back. And that can only be done in law. Because law is so damn simple. Do unto others and cause no harm. It can't get any simpler than that. We don't need 100,000 rules and regulations and statutes and all the rest of it to tell us how to live. Hell, the animals caged in the zoo ain't got as many rules and regulations as you do, and you run around calling yourselves free. We just got to come and deal with the realities that we face. And we have to do something about it. When you got somebody staring you down, which is determined to cause you harm, you just going to stand there until they cause you harm? I hope to hell not. But that's the 90% of the people. I'm full aware that there's at least 10% of the population in every country that still has a mind and a spine. Been holding her neutral. Now we need to search out and get that 10% of the population together and then make a move. I mean, you have, in the United States, you have, 300 and some odd million people there now. 10% of that's 300,000 people. Now, we know that we've had million-man marches standing down there in Pennsylvania Avenue while they're waving their stupid placards. Begging these sick sons of bitches that are running the show to either don't frack or don't do this or don't do that, or we want better food standards or this. Why the hell are you begging your oppressor? You think oppressor is going to turn around and say, "Aw, look at that. We must have oppressed them, poor buggers. We should do something nice for them." Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll lay a new tax on them. That'll shut them up. They ain't working hard enough right now. They got too much time to come down here and stand here with their stupid placards. So let's just whack them some more, and then that'll shut them up. But 10% of the people, I mean, you have well over 10% of the people, or 1% of the people, excuse me, um, yeah, 1% of that's 3 million people of the population. 1%. Is that right? Yeah, 300 million, 1%. Is 3 million people. That's 1% of the population of the United States. There's over 1 million people. And we put up with the nonsense that's going on. Why? Why? You know, 1% of the population of the United States is let's see, 1%, that's 300 million, that's 3 million. So you got a little over, you got maybe 303 million, 3,030,000, 300,000 people. That's a pretty big army. Get it mobilized. Get the country back. Get the nation back. Up here in Canada, we can do the same thing. We have 35 million people. We have a very large country with very few people spread over a very, very large area, but even way back in the Depression area, there was still enough people managed to get onto the trains and that and head for the capital to raise some serious shit, but they didn't stop at they stopped at the gates. This is the problem. Always stopping at the damn gates. This excuse me, this phony idea of authority. We can't go in there. Why? Well, we might get in trouble. Huh? You're up to your neck in trouble. Your kids have no future. Your grandchildren have no future, and your forefathers are rolling in their graves, kicking at the casket tops, going, would you people wake the frig up and stand up? But always get to the gates. Well, we can't go in there. Why? Well, they're the authorities. Huh? They're the thieves. It's a den of vipers, for God's sakes. This perceived authority nonsense has got to be put to rest. How do fictions have authority over real men and women? How is that even possible? It's not possible. But those people, those men and women are using this fictional game to their advantage and to your detriment. Then that needs to stop. That absolutely needs to stop. Because until it does stop, it's just going to continue to get worse. More people are going to be unemployed. More people are going to be homeless. More people are going to be hungry. And our two nations are so huge that if the rest of the world fell off, there is nothing that we could possibly want for. There is nothing we couldn't possibly grow. There is nothing we couldn't engineer. Nothing. Yet we look at our fellow man and woman and we'd see pictures of them living in cars, people on the street homeless, people going to food banks in the two richest nations on the planet with the largest natural resource base per capita of any place on the planet. And we walk by our brothers and sisters We turn a blind eye. We don't see. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to me. And then we make these dumbass excuses. Oh, they must have done something wrong, or they got caught in something. Geez, I hope we'll just keep our nose clean. Everything will be fine. Boy, are you dreaming. $1950. I'm going to end with this. 1950. Senate hearing. Warburg. We will have a world government by consent or by conquest. We can't do it as long as we have two opposing superpowers. They look at the game board, fine, who's going down? Well, we'll democratize Russia and we'll bring it into the Western standards. And we'll bring the Berlin Wall down and the world will scream in happiness because the threat of nuclear war between these two nations has been all but past now. But we got one other problem. What's that problem? Well, we need a mechanism. This is the state Senate hearings from 1950, for crying out loud. We need a mechanism. We need a global problem. They're going to be solved by a global solution, which will move us to a global government. Environment was picked as the main mechanism. And now they've come up with all kinds of global problems since. They've got a global problem factory. Hunger is a global problem. Undereducation is a global problem. AIDS is a global problem. And so on and so forth. So they've created all these global problems that need global solutions. One of their main global problems is there's too many people on the planet, and they need a global solution for that. Which I'll end over here back at Britain, which I stayed away a long time ago on the show about the depopulation programs and all of these. I mean, just look up, there's so many groups pushing depopulation out there, it's nuts. But the one that Attenborough was a patron of stated specifically that the ideal population for America is not more than 100 million people. Now that's a threat. That's a threat against you people. That the population of Britain should not be more than 32 million people. It's presently about 65 to 67 million people. But just to be on the safe side, they ratcheted it down to 28 million people, I think. It was either 26 or 28 million people would be the ideal population for Britain, which is right presently over 65 million people. That is a threat. That's an outright threat by a man that the BBC holds up as his great humanitarian. These are threats against your people, and they must not be taken lightly. So I'm glad Britain got out of the EU. I'm still not sure if that was a rigged vote, because you never know what these clowns have up their sleeves. They can rig a vote any way they want, so we're not sure. We'll have to sit back and take a look at that. But the people of Britain, you have a little bit of celebrating to do maybe. They're going to ride you hard. They're going to try and make an example out of you. But as I've been saying, that was vote one. Vote two is the important vote, and that is to vote yourselves out from underneath the umbrella of the United Nations. Because the guys that set up the EU are the guys that set up the United Nations. So to get out of the EU does not mean that you are out and free. You are still under the grip. All got it. Thanks everybody. Thanks for putting up your rant today. Remember, Hal's on his free. Don't miss it.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Seize the shit, force them air. Fuck them back, it's only for them.